going on, guys? Billy here, and today we're going to be walking through the entire DJI Go 4 application while using the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, if you have a Mavic 2 Zoom, don't worry, this video will still apply to you, as both drones, the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom, are essentially identical except for that camera, and I use the same settings when flying both of the drones. Now, this video could get pretty lengthy just because I'm going to be walking through this entire application. My goals are to go over what all of the settings mean. Also, I want to touch on what I have set for some of these settings and why I have them set that way. If you want to, go ahead and pause the video real quick, get your drone set up, your Mavic 2 Pro or your Mavic 2 Zoom, and walk through this application with me. Alright, so starting things off, we are on the main screen of the DJI Go 4 application where the live transmission feed comes in from your drone. On the screen, we've got some status indicators up at the top about our drone. We've also got some of the camera values underneath of that. And then finally, we've got telemetry in the bottom left corner. But again, we're going to be going over the settings of the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom in this video. Now, I wanted to start off with the camera settings, although I actually went over those in another video. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over them in this video. If you guys want to see all the camera settings explained and go over what I think are the best camera settings, go ahead and check that link down in the description. But to move on with this video, we're going to click on the three dots in the top right corner to bring us to the general settings. So up at the top, we've got our measurement units. I've got this set to imperial as I live here in the United States. I go off of things like feet, miles per hour. But if you live like basically anywhere else in the world, you can switch over to the metric system and have that displayed in either meters per second or kilometers per hour. Now, next up, live streaming. Select live broadcast platform. This allows you to choose where you want to broadcast your drone footage to live. There's really nothing to change in here. So if you want to live stream, that's where it's at. Next up, under map, calibrate map coordinates for China mainland. I've got it turned off. I don't live in China. Next up, cache map in background. This essentially saves the maps locally on your device. It is a huge lifesaver if you're going to an area or if you're moving spots to an area that has little or no cell reception. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. Just be sure to turn that on. It's definitely a huge help. Next up, video cache during video shooting. I've got this turned off. Essentially what a video cache is any video that you shoot, you're going to store that full high resolution video on the SD card, and then a lower resolution video will be saved to your device. So you can look at it later. It is beneficial, although I've got it turned off as it does actually take up some more CPU usage. So it's a little bit more power hungry. And I've got it turned off just because I do a lot of screen recording. And when I say fly my drone, I've got the DJI Go app open, I'm screen recording and I'm caching video. It really does take a toll on the device, so I've got that turned off. Next up at the bottom, we've got other. My device name is obviously Billy's Mavic 2 Pro, but you guys can set it to whatever you'd like. We've also got full screen, so I've got this set to double finger. So essentially, if we go back to the main screen here, and if we swipe with two fingers, then it's going to give us that full screen view. And then if we swipe again, it's going to bring us back and give us the HUD or the heads-up display. So I like to have this set to double finger instead of single finger because sometimes I swipe across with one finger by accident. So if I want to deliberately actually hide what's on my screen, I can just use two fingers. Moving on, the next icon is marked by a camera, and if we go there, we can see some of the gimbal settings. Now, in that video where I went over all of the camera settings, I actually go over the gimbal settings as well, so I'm not going to touch on these in depth, but I will go over them very quickly with you guys. So the gimbal mode, I've got this set to follow. So essentially, the camera will follow the horizon line as you move. But if you set it to FPV, then that actual camera will bank with the drone. So you get an FPV experience. I basically always have mine set to follow so I can get that cinematic looking footage. If you go into advanced settings, we've got the max gimbal pitch speed as well as the gimbal pitch smoothness. I've got this set to 20 for the pitch speed and then 15 for the pitch smoothness. And this gives me the most cinematic looking footage. It allows the gimbal to move slowly so it's not moving all over the place and crazy. And also enable upwards gimbal tilt limit to 30 degrees. I've got this turned on so that my camera can actually look upwards a little bit if I want to say take a photo or a video that starts looking a little bit up. The next settings tab that we've got is the aircraft battery settings, and within here we've got a lot of important information to look at. So we've got our temperature of the battery, the voltage of the battery, as well as the voltage of each individual cell of the battery up there at the top. Then we can change the critically low battery warning. So I've got this set to 10%, and critically low battery is like when the drone begins to land itself. So I've got it pushed all the way to 10% just so I can use pretty much the entire battery. Next up, low battery warning. I've got this set to 15% as I hate when the controller just starts beeping at me telling me I've got low battery. So I push it all the way down and I just keep an eye on the battery throughout my flights. Smart return home, I've got that turned on, so essentially the drone will follow the same path that you flew to get it where it was. And this is nice because you know you're not going to run into any structures or any obstacles. Next up, we've got show voltage on main screen. I've got that turned on, and you'll see actually here on the main screen up near the percentage in the top right, I've got the voltage displayed right next to there. Alright, so moving on from the aircraft, the battery settings, the next tab that we have is the image transmission settings marked by the HD icon on the left side. And this page right here is like the one that DJI always changes with all of the updates. So hopefully if you're watching this video, say 2, 3, or 4 months after it was uploaded, it looks just a little bit similar. So up at the top, we've got our channel. We can choose between 2.4 gigahertz, 5.8 gigahertz, or dual, and dual will actually bounce back and forth between 2.4 or 5.8 depending on what's going to give you the best transmission quality. And I would say go with dual because it allows you to basically just get the best image transmission quality. I just, pretty much allow the drone to do all the work for me. I don't want to be bothered with choosing which one is best, but there could be certain scenarios where you actually need to choose. So let's say you're in a populated area and you need better signal. You might just want to go 5.8 all the time, but if you want to get some more range in an area that doesn't have as much interference, 2.4 will be the way to go. For me, I just have it set to dual and I let the drone do the work for me. Next up, we've got our channel mode, and again, kind of the same philosophy here. I let the drone do the work for me. I've got it set to auto. If we say set this to custom, right, it's going to actually make us select the channel that we want to use with the least amount of interference. So when I'm flying my drone, I'm busy not running anything. I'm busy making sure I'm getting the shots that I want to, and I'm busy just making sure everything is going right. And I don't have to be bothered by actually selecting the channel that has the least amount of interference. So this is something that is very important potentially for people that want to be operating on a certain frequency or just on a certain channel. But for me, I just let the drone do all the work for me, and I've got it set to auto. It really does save a lot of headaches. Next up, we've got our downlink bandwidth as well as the transmission quality, and at the bottom here, we've got our image transmission settings. We can choose between normal mode or HD mode. Essentially, this is either 720p or 1080p. If you get 720p, you might get some more range and then better image quality as the range goes. But for me, I've got it set to HD mode as that 1080p downlink looks beautiful. Moving along, the next tab that we have is the remote controller settings marked by the remote controller icon. The first thing that we have to change is our stick mode, and this is all personal preference. In fact, I think that I've heard some people say that they use either, I think, mode 1 or maybe mode 3, one of those modes, because they fly helicopters on their Xbox and then it's easy to transition into drones, and that makes perfect sense. But for me, I use mode 2. That's the default. That's just what I'm used to. You can even set the custom controls if you really wanted to, but for me, mode 2 works. Let's see. Next up, we've got our charging mode. This is huge. This is a brand new feature in the Mavic 2 Pro. I've been wanting this forever. Basically, if you have this turned on, the remote controller will charge your mobile device. Now, I found for big devices like my iPhone XS Max, it doesn't actually say charge it like fast, but I have found that it at least keeps it at around like 7 or 8%, or I should say the percentage it's at. So right now I'm at like 7% and I've got this turned on, and it's not going to charge up to like 20%. It's just going to stay around 7%, and that's a big help. Next up, button customization. My C1 button, these two C buttons back here. C1 is center autofocus, so I can actually focus the camera if I need to by just tapping the button. And also bottom auxiliary lighting, so if I tap on the other button, the C2 button, it actually turns those lights on the bottom, which I think that that's a great thing to use when flying at nighttime, so you can easily spot your drone up in the sky, and that allows me to turn it on and off at a quick button press. Next up, our 5D button customization. That is the 5D button right here on the front of the remote controller. Upper, if I push it up, I've got it set to increase aperture. Lower, I decrease the aperture. Left is the camera forward and down, and then the right is also the camera forward and down. I'm all about symmetry, and there really wasn't any other thing I wanted to use on either of those sides. To be honest, the 5D button customization is kind of lacking customization options, and I do really wish that they'd add some more stuff to there. After the remote controller settings, we have got our visual navigation settings, and this tab basically has everything to do with the VPS and the obstacle avoidance sensors on your drone. So at the top, we've got enable visual obstacle avoidance. I've got that turned on. So the sensors, the obstacle avoidance sensors, are turned on and they're actively looking for obstacles as it flies. I would say I'm like 50-50, so I have this turned on basically at all times when I'm flying around because accidents do happen. And then if I'm, say, trying to get a shot and I can get it better without the obstacle avoidance turned on, I'll turn it off, I'll get that shot, and then I'll turn it right back on. Next up, display radar chart. This is so annoying. Let's see. I'll turn this on for a second, right? It's those red and yellow lines. They take up the whole screen. They're really annoying. It shows you like how close obstacles are, so I find that incredibly annoying. I keep those turned off. Bottom auxiliary lighting, I've got this set to auto, so essentially those lights on the bottom, when it gets close to the ground, they automatically turn on. You can choose to have them set to be always on or always off, but for me, I've got that again set to this back button here, so I can cycle through those modes as needed. Advanced settings, enable vision positioning. I've got this turned on. It's the VPS sensors underneath. So in coordination with GPS, it really does keep your drone stable. And even if you don't have a GPS signal, those VPS sensors are going to keep your drone stable, even in some of the strongest gusts of wind. Landing protection, I've got this turned on. So anytime that the drone comes down, lands itself, it's going to check to make sure that it's a safe area to land, and then it'll do so if it's a safe area. RTH obstacle check, this will basically allow your drone to see if there's any obstacles in its way as it is returning to home. When it's returning to home, it is flying by itself. You have no control over it. So I would say turn this on, because whenever my drone is flying by itself, I always want to know that the sensors are on and actively looking for things around it. Alright, so guys, we are on the home stretch. We've got one more tab to go over, and that is the main controller settings. Now in here is housed a lot of the miscellaneous settings, things that wouldn't fit in some of the other categories. And we'll start things off here with the basic settings, the home point settings. We can choose to reset the home point to either the location of the drone or your person where the remote controller is at. And you can choose between either the triangle, which is the drone, or the person, which is the remote controller. Next up, RTH at current altitude. I've got this turned off. I find myself flying around structures a lot, things like buildings and trees, and flying underneath of the tops of those obstacles, and I wouldn't want the drone to return to me at that current altitude, so I've got that turned off. I don't really know if there's any scenario where you want it on, but if you need it to be on, that's where it is. Multiple flight modes, I've got that turned on. It allows me to go in between, say, sport positioning and tripod mode. Turn it on because sport mode is a lot of fun. Next up, we've got return home altitude. I've got this set to 90 meters or 300 feet, and that's like my standard RTH altitude, although this is a case-by-case scenario. It's really a decision that's made on the fly, because you could show up in an area where the buildings are like 700 or 800 feet. You want to make sure that your RTH is at 900 feet, so you can go over those buildings if you, say, lose signal. So again, case-by-case scenario, make sure you're checking your RTH altitude at all times, depending on different shooting locations. Next up, beginner mode. I have got this turned off. I'm not a beginner, although if you are a beginner, I'd recommend turning it on, as it does really show you the ropes of how to fly a drone. Next up, we've got set max flight altitude. I've got this set to the maximum 500 meters or 1,640 feet, or 1,640 feet. I know that you're only allowed to fly up to 400 feet. I follow that guideline very strictly. But if I'm, say, flying around a building that's 300 feet, this will allow me to go up to 700 feet. And I hate being limited. The other thing, I find this to be a safety precaution. So let's say you're flying and you see a manned aircraft, and the best way to yield way to that manned aircraft is up and away rather than down and, towards the ground. If you're set at 400 feet, or I guess it would be like 120 meters, and you're up at that altitude of 400 feet, you can't go up and away. So I recommend setting this to 500 meters, just so you can get a little bit more out of your drone if you need to, if you're flying around structures, or again, if you need to yield way to a manned aircraft. Same thing goes with enable max distance. I've just got this turned off because I hate being limited by that max distance. It's a little bit annoying. Finally, we've got our advanced settings. Up at the top, we've got our gain and expo tuning. This really does allow you to tune how your drone flies. I made a full video about those settings, a separate video, and I could be here for another 20 minutes talking about them. So check that link in the description if you want to go ahead and pretty much learn how those expo settings work. Next up, we've got the sensors, and this just shows us the status of our sensors, the IMU and the compass. Next up, we have got cinematic mode. I've got the brake gain set to 10 and the yaw sensitivity to 50. To be honest, I do not use cinematic mode, but if you want to change some of the different settings of how to use cinematic mode and really tweak how it flies, you can go ahead and do so right there. Finally, we've got other, remote controller signal loss. I've got it set to return to home, and I think that most people want it to return to home when you're outside, and let's say you fly a little bit too far away and it comes back to you. But if you're going to be inside, I'd recommend going with either landing or hover, because if you lose signal, you don't want the drone to fly up and hit the ceiling. You do have those infrared sensors on the top of the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom, but just to be safe, I would say if you're flying inside, have it set to either land or hover. Next up, turn on head LEDs. Those are those two front red LEDs. I've got them on. I think that it really does help when flying. When the sun's a little bit low or it's a little bit darker out, to have all the LEDs on that you can. But when you're shooting photos or videos, I like to have those LEDs turned off. And there's a setting within the camera settings. So when you say go to shoot a photo, those lights will turn off real quick. It'll take the photo and then they'll turn back on. Stop motor method, I've got this turned on. I've never had to use it, although this basically allows you to stop the motors in midair. It is a safety precaution. I've seen some crazy videos like Chris Rollins where he actually stops the motors in midair with his original Mavic Pro and then has them turn back on and he's flying. That's crazy, but I've got these turned on for like those just in case moments. Alright, so guys, that basically wraps up this video for the DJI Go 4 settings for the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. Be sure to check out the camera settings videos that I'm going to leave down in the description, as well as the EXP settings video. I didn't want to go over those in this video just because I'd probably end up talking for like 40 or 50 minutes. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed, I hope that you learned something, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.